Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to make a short video and let you know about tomorrow's class. It's going to be a slightly different format. I would encourage you to decide whether or not you want to drive to campus tomorrow. We will be in small group work the majority of the class, which means you're going to be on your computer in headphones. I'll explain what that group work's going to look like here in a moment. So it's up to you whether or not you want to be on campus. But we're going to be pretty much in a small group online environment tomorrow. It's an online course. So if you don't want to drive to campus, don't feel like you need to. It's my advice for tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about tomorrow. And because I've been gone a little bit, so I'm just now getting this information to you. I got back from the cruise ship last night. So catching up on things. But let me show you what tomorrow looks like. Tomorrow is our lecture class, and we are borrowing the format from Toastmasters. And so what does that mean? That means each of you will be asked to give a 5-minute lecture, and one person in your group will be the timer. And what we're going to encourage you to do is, I'll go over your groups in a minute, but whoever the timer is, when you're ready to begin your lecture, they're going to hit start, right? So you can just use the timer on your phone. Whoever is presenting will have exactly 5 minutes to do their presentation. And you want to be close to 5 minutes as possible, right? So don't do a 2-minute speech and be like, I'm done. That's really not what we're going for. You want to be, I would say, in the 4 to 5 minute range. Want to get practice speaking in a lecture format. And this is tough to do well. I will tell you, I'm an okay lecturer. I'm not a great one, especially in the way that we're practicing doing it here. So you can have no visual aids, no PowerPoints, no handouts, nothing. It is just you and the camera talking to your colleagues. And what you're going to be talking about is your course. Essentially, you are explaining to potential students why they should enroll in your course. So it's something you know well. And you're essentially doing a motivational talk to encourage them to register. That's the setup. So the facilitator will hit start. You'll have 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, the facilitator will say time, and you have to stop. If you are mid-sentence, you stop. So the idea is to get between 4 and 5 minutes. That is your goal. No visual aids, and then collectively, you'll have 2 of your peers who will grade you. And we'll go over that grading rubric together in just a moment. After they grade you, they're going to be encouraged to use the sandwich method to give you feedback. What does that mean? The sandwich method is say something someone did well, give a suggestion for improvement, and then reinforce that whatever it was that they did well. That way someone feels like they're making progress. Oftentimes, if we only give critical feedback, people feel beat up. And so the sandwich method is an approach that we're going to practice as we give feedback to each other, as if we were giving feedback to our students. So you will, whoever the graders are, will give that feedback. And then after they give the feedback, whoever grader number 1 is, I don't have a TA this semester. So whoever grader number 1 is, I'm going to ask you to be responsible for collecting the rubric from grader number 2. And then emailing me both rubrics with an average score. And that average score will be what I put into the gradebook. So I would ask you to do that work for me if you're grader number 1. After everyone has presented, we're going to come back together as a class with a debrief. And so most of the class will be independent. We'll come back together as a class. We'll debrief on the whole lecture experience and talk about that at the end. And I'm going to be placing y'all into 2 groups. And so you'll have 5 people in your group. And so you'll hear 5 presentations, right? So 5 5-minute lectures. So you figure each person has roughly 10 minutes, give or take. 5 minutes for their lecture, 3 minutes for feedback. Take a few minutes to wrap up your paperwork before you go to the next one. With only 5 of you, you'll have plenty of time tomorrow. And I'll review all of this at the start of class. Let's talk about the rubric. So this is adapted from Toastmasters. So you are going to grade folks on their intro. Did their introduction grab your attention or not? The content. Did you understand fully what it is they're trying to communicate about their course? Did they give you all the necessary information you need to decide if you want to register for their course? Did their course have a conclusion, or did their speech have a conclusion that summarized the key points of their speech and reinforced to you why you want to take it? Did they seem prepared? Did they stay within the time limit? Here we're saying 3 to 5 minutes. That's in the rubric. A moment ago I said 4 to 5. Since the rubric says 3 to 5, we'll go with 3 to 5 minutes. So you got a little more wiggle room than I was going to give you. So 3 to 5 minutes, that's what the rubric says. So we'll use that. Did they speak clearly? Were you able to understand what they were saying? Or did they mumble, or were they too soft? This is a little bit more difficult than in person because you're doing it virtually. And so some of these latter things become a bit more challenging. It's harder in some ways to communicate and be engaging when you're over a camera. So this posture and eye contact, you'll need to give someone a little bit of grace. This is for an in-person. However, there's still good ways to try to engage people and use the camera to your benefit, and to use the images of folks in the room to your benefit to engage with them. And so you'll need to adapt this posture and eye contact one, but you can do that. I trust you to do it. And then lastly, the volume. Could you hear them? Again, give a little bit of grace here. If they're having a technology problem, don't deduct points because they're having an issue with tech. But if they're whispering or having some other issues, then give them some feedback. Or if they're screaming at you, give them that feedback too. So you'll grade everyone from 1 to 4 on each of these categories. You're going to create a sum score. You're going to divide that score by 4, and that is the person's grade. Grader number 1 will take their average sum score, the average sum score of grader 2. They'll average those two scores, and then they will email me the average of the two along with the supporting documentation, meaning the completed rubrics for both students. So make sure you're prepared for tomorrow. I apologize for the short notice, but I had no internet while I was on that cruise ship. And so now you know what we're doing. It's all good fun, so don't stress out about it. This really can be a very enjoyable experience for everyone. So don't be anxious. Just come to class, be prepared to have fun, and support each other. See you tomorrow.